Ukrainian troops have destroyed a railway connection in the Russian-occupied part of southeastern Zaporizhzhia region, Pyotr Andriushenko, former advisor to the mayor of Mariupol, revealed on Tuesday. The destruction of a cargo train carrying fuel left the railway tracks in ruins in the area between Urzyny and Tokmak. Ukrainian telegram channels reported that the 65th Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces destroyed a freight train in the settlement of Molochansk near Tokmak city in Zaporizhzhia region. The telegram channels shared footage of the burning train allegedly carrying fuel tank cars. For those asking why the Russians transport fuel at night by train and truck, this is exactly why. To avoid such losses, Andriushenko noted. The attack dealt a significant blow to Russia's logistics and confirmed the effectiveness of Ukrainian troops in targeting key transport routes. Ukraine has scaled up attacks on Russia's strategic facilities in occupied Ukrainian territories and in Russia. Ukrainian defense forces have cleared 6 settlements near Dobropilya in Donetsk region. The town of Pokrovsk has also been cleared of occupants. This is reported by the AFU General Staff. From August 4th to 16th, as a result of joint actions of units and subdivisions of the National Guard and the AFU, which are part of the 1st Corps of the NSU, Azov, the settlements in Donetsk region were cleared: Gruzkoy, Rubizn, Novovodyan, Petrovka, Veseloy, and Zolotoy Kolodets. The General Staff noted that stabilization operations in the direction of Dobropilya continue. Divisions of the 19th Army Corps operating in Donetsk region have captured 6 Russian servicemen just in the past 24 hours. Also this week, the 7th Corps of Airborne Assault Troops and related units have cleared the town of Pokrovsk of enemy groups and single occupants. The General Staff said Russian forces suffered significant losses: 910 killed, 335 wounded, 37 captured. Additionally, Ukrainian forces destroyed or damaged 8 tanks, 6 armored vehicles, 103 vehicles and motorcycles, 1 MLRS, 18 guns, and 91 UAVs. The Pokrovsk direction remains one of the hottest on the front, since a significant group of the Russian army is concentrated there against the Ukrainian troops. The further defense of the city directly depends on military expediency and the preservation of personnel, emphasized the head of the Ukrainian Center for Security and Cooperation, Sergei Kazan. According to him, the key factor is the ratio of losses. If defensive positions, particularly in the Pokrovsk area, allow the enemy to suffer losses several times greater than those suffered by Ukraine, they should be held. However, when a line loses its strategic value, there is no point in holding it only for symbolic reasons. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces advanced up to 1,000 meters in Sumy region's Yablonivka area. However, the Dnipro Operational Strategic Group reports that the Russian army continues its attempts to advance in the Donetsk region, with tense situations unfolding simultaneously in 2 sectors. Attacks are also reported in Yudakny, Novopavlivka, Filia, and Horokov, aimed at reaching the administrative border of the Donetsk region. Ukrainian defense forces are holding back the onslaught, inflicting significant losses on enemy troops, the Dnipro group said. The operation was carried out by the HUR in coordination with units of the State Border Service and other components of Ukraine's defense forces. The source said the strike disrupted rail traffic, halting the transport of personnel and supplies through the station. As a result, the supply of ammunition and personnel to the occupation army was disrupted, the source added.
Special Operations Forces fighters of Ukraine were given the task of clearing one of the plantings in order to bring the Ukrainian infantry there. 2 companies from the 3rd SOF Regiment in the HMMWVs set out to carry out the task. The press service of the Special Operations Forces published a video and a post about close combat with enemy soldiers on the territory of one of the plantations. Fighters Rudia and Zayats spoke about the special operation itself and about close combat with the enemy. The fighters received information from intelligence that there were only 10 to 12 enemy soldiers at the position. The first detachment drove in unnoticed and the enemy began firing at the second. Special Forces troops landed at the positions around midnight and contact combat began 12 hours later. The Ukrainian fighters had to run another 400 meters across open terrain, and all this during daylight hours. The fighters were loaded not only with ammunition, but also each had 4 bottles of water. Then they saw a hole and a dugout from where voices were heard. As it turned out, it was an enemy from an elite unit. All of them looked athletic. One of them decided to live rather than die and surrendered. He also said that every 100 to 150 meters there were points where 2 soldiers of the Russian armed forces were sitting. As a result of the battle, most of the enemies were destroyed. Several Russian special forces surrendered. In addition, after the coordinates of the enemy positions were clarified, drone bomber crews worked on them. Recalled Special Operations Forces are a separate branch of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, which includes Special Forces units, the Resistance Movement, and Psychological Operations units. The Special Operations Forces operators successfully perform tasks that others consider impossible. They are professionals at the impossible. Units of the Special Operations Forces are the first to go behind enemy lines by land, sea, and air, laying the groundwork for operations to liberate Ukraine from the enemy. Their participation in the Battle of Kiev, the defense of the Chernihiv and Sumy regions, the liberation of the Zminy Island in the Black Sea, the lightning-fast counter-offensive in the Kharkiv region, the liberation of Kherson, the battle for Bakhmut, the defense of Avdiivka, Chasiv Yar and Vovchansk in the operation in the Kursk region of the Russian Federation, and many others, are a brilliant example of the actions of modern, professional, and effective soldiers. Soldiers in the Special Operations Forces use cutting-edge military technologies together with the newest weaponry and equipment. The SOF resistance movement establishes agent networks in temporarily occupied territories and coordinates the fight against Russian forces. These units carry out sabotage, damage logistical routes and enemy equipment, disrupt Russian supply chains, and assist other Ukrainian Defense Forces units in liberating territories in the south and east of the country. In SOF training sites across Ukraine, experienced instructors train recruits in a range of military specializations in accordance with NATO standards.